Usually these videos are a chance to provide education or insight on a particular financial planning topic. Today's video is going to be a little bit different. In today's video, I'm going to share with you our firm's vision for how we hope to help implement the advice we talk about at scale to an increasing number of clients. In this video, I'm going to talk about the challenges facing both the advisory industry as well as clients of that industry. I'm going to share with you why I believe Root is uniquely positioned to help bring about some of the change to combat those challenges. And I'm going to share with you the 3 phases of growth that we hope to go through to bring about this change. I hope you enjoy.
I am, if you don't already know, the vice president here at Root, and we are joined by James, the founder and president of Root, who will be going over a lot of fun discussing why are we even doing this, what is the issue with the industry, how we view ourselves as part of the solution, and it's going to be a lot of fun. So I'm going to pass it over to James, who is going to get us started. James, it's all you.
Thank you, Ari, and thank you to everyone who's here. As Ari mentioned, we're excited to do this. And we have a good mix of people on this call. We have clients, we have prospective clients, we have other advisors and industry professionals. And I want to start with why we're even doing this. Who cares what Root's master plan is? Well, there's, I think, a different reason for each of you. One, for clients, you're the reason we exist. And so we want to share with you, what is it that we're building for you? How do we hope to continuously improve the services and the advice that you're getting? For prospective clients, a lot of you are on this call as well. Many of you have reached out to us to say, hey, we tried to reach out, we weren't able to at the time. So we want to share a little bit about why is that? What are we doing to actively solve some of these challenges that many of you have just reached out to us about? And so we'll share with that very transparently. And then finally, 3, those of you that are in the industry, whether advisors or otherwise, a huge part of Root's mission is having the absolute best people on the team here. And we have an incredible team of advisors, of support staff, of everyone just doing really great work for clients. And in order for us to continue growing into this mission and acting upon this mission, it is important that we have the highest caliber people on the team. So continuing to attract the absolute best is a big part of this as well. So basic format for today, I'm going to spend about 20 minutes, 25 minutes maybe talking about, as Ari mentioned, what are some of the challenges that the advisory industry currently faces? Why do we believe that Root is uniquely positioned to make at least some small dent in that, or play some small part in bringing about part of the change? And then what are the 3 distinct phases of how we intend to do so? What are the things that we're going to do to bring about that change to address some of these problems? That will take about 20, 25 minutes. We'll leave a whole lot of time. The rest of the webinar essentially will just be time for Q&A. So there is a Q&A box. Submit your questions there. Ari will be moderating that, and we'll have a chance to address that at the very end here. And to kick us off, I'm going to go ahead and just share my screen. So the master plan. And now before we get started with this isn't something that we are all of a sudden saying, hey, look, Root was previously doing this, and now we're doing that. This is really just a continuation of what we have been doing. We have been working actively to build momentum and get traction and do a lot of things that we think will have a really cool impact for our current and future clients. And we wanted to crystallize that or formalize that into what does that plan look like so we could share it with clients, prospective clients, and of course, everyone here on this call. What we're solving for is for any of you who have a great advisor, whether it's at Root or elsewhere, or you are an advisor, you know how transformative good financial advice can be. You know how powerful it is when you have advice that goes well beyond just the portfolio value or the balance sheet, and how that can be life-changing in many cases. The problem is there's too much advice that isn't good. I think we all know people who have either, maybe we've been those people, been burned by advisors, have bad advice, have had something that's cost us dearly because just not all this advice is as good as it should be. The advice that is good, the second problem, it's not accessible enough. It's not accessible to enough people to get that good advice. And then finally, in my opinion, almost all advice is too expensive. And I would even categorize Root in a couple of these categories, and we'll talk about how, as part of this plan, we hope to address some of those things. But too much advice not being good, too much advice not being accessible, and too much advice being too expensive are 3 core areas that I think that we see, I think all advisors see, and we want to talk about why we want to do that. And really why we want to do that, or why we want to address that, is because our mission here at Root is, it's not just to help people grow their portfolios forever. It's not just to say, hey, how can you hoard your savings and work forever and really just build your balance sheet? It's really, how do you get the most out of life with your money? How do you use that money as a tool to have a transformative effect on what your life can look like and the life of those around you looks like? So that is why we want to do it. And now I want to talk about, why is Root uniquely positioned, in our opinion, to be some, as I mentioned, at least small part of that change, if not more. And the reason, I believe, comes down to four things. One is our platform. Two is our culture. Three is the disruption and just the newness of the firm in general. And then four is some efficiency. So I'm going to go through these four things. Then I'm going to go through, what does that game plan look like as we hope to have some significant change here going forward. The first is the platform. So the hardest part about being an advisor is getting clients. You can be the absolute best advisor in the world, but if no one knows who you are or no one's working with you, then you're not going to be in business very long. On the flip side, you can be an incredible salesperson, but be a bad advisor. And so I think the problem that Root has solved so far for us and for our team is, attracting new clients is very hard, but we've found that formula that works. And this isn't a formal statistic here, as much as it's my experience in talking to a lot of advisors. It's not uncommon, especially if you're a new advisor getting into the industry, to spend over a quarter of your working hours just trying to find new clients. But when you're spending 25% or more of your time trying to find clients, there's very little time left to devote. I shouldn't say very little. There's less time available to devote to current clients. So the platform that we now have, and I'll touch upon this more later, but over 4,500 people, individuals looking for financial advice, have reached out to us over the last 18 months saying, we want to work with you at Root. Obviously, we can't work with all 4,500 today, but what we have done is we've solved that client acquisition problem. I'm going to talk more about this, of what's in it for the client, what's in it for prospects, what's in it for everything else in just a little bit. But when we have the platform that we have of the podcast, the YouTube channels, the digital marketing, what it's essentially doing is it's allowing all of our advisors to spend 100% of our time serving clients, working with clients, being available for clients, and not having to go out and chase down clients, attend networking events, whatever it might be, trying to build that. So that's part number one, is the platform of attracting clients. It doesn't matter how many wonderful clients you can attract if you don't have a team of really incredible people here to serve those clients. So the second really unique thing about Root is Root's culture. And everyone says culture is important. Obviously, this is can be a buzzword in many cases, but at Root, a happy team is really essential to our success, not just because we all want to work at a place that's going to be really fun to be at for the rest of our careers, but good culture is good for business. Good culture is good for the clients, because if you're a client and you constantly have your advisor leaving every 2, 3, 5, however many years, because the place of business just isn't good, isn't fun, isn't conducive to their personal and professional goals, that's not good for the advisor. It's not good for the client. It leads to turnover. And I can't tell you how many people. So we're going through interview process right now with advisors, support staff, many different roles. And so many of the people that are reaching out, they're saying, hey, what attracts us to Root is Root is both established in the sense of, okay, it's very clear that you're having some success, but there's also a newness. There's also a freshness. There's also a vitality that no longer exists at my firm. You know, my firm was acquired by a larger firm or private equity firm or whatever it is. And just the culture stinks now. You know, we can't focus on doing good work. We have to try to hit these metrics. We feel the thing I hear all the time is our firm is now trying to squeeze water from a rock. And it just leaves us as the advisor feeling like, hey, we're now just salespeople. We can't actually be good advisors. So the heart of Root is, how do we have an incredible culture? Because the benefits are twofold. One is turnover is expensive, both financially and emotionally. So we want to create a place where anyone can come here and feel like, I could spend the rest of my career at Root. I can develop personally, I can develop professionally. I've got a great career path in front of me, because that's good for the advisor. and it's good for the client of saying you're going to have an advisor for life because there's not going to be that turnover that is so common at some firms. The second benefit is it helps us to attract top talent. One of my favorite things of going through this interview process right now is there's so many incredible advisors saying, hey, I love what you all are doing at Root. I want to be a part of what you all are doing at Root, which is at the end of the day, good for business. Part of our plan, which we'll again talk about in a bit, is it's not okay for us to grow for growing with average team members. We want to grow with the absolute best team members. We want to grow in a way that every time a new team member comes on, Root gets better. Root's depth of experience gets deeper. Root's ability to service clients improves. And we've been able to do that, and we're going to continue to do that. And the culture is a unique part of our position and our ability to do so. So ability to attract clients, number one, ability to attract incredible team members based on our culture, number two. The third thing is disruption. And really, this is almost just comes down to time horizon in a way, where it's no secret that this is an older, old school industry, where what that means financially speaking is most firm owners have called a 3 to 5 to 7 year time horizon. That's either because the owner is getting close to the point where they're saying, hey, I've built a really successful business. I've served clients really well. That's great. But they're at this point that they're a few years out from retirement. There's really no incentive to continue innovating, to continue doing things in a way that's going to transform that client experience, because that is something that requires an investment of time that plays out over years and years and years. So it's either that, or it's, hey, a private equity firm bought a company that used to be an incredible company. But by nature of private equity companies, they are looking to purchase something typically and then turn around and look to sell that investment within 5 to 7 years. And so what you get there is you get another short-term time horizon where the focus isn't on how do you build something that's going to be innovative, that's going to improve clients' lives, that's going to make advice better. It's how do you take this and turn it into a more profitable investment over the next 3, 5, 7 years. What this looks like tactically speaking, or just in practice, is most larger firms today are several years, even sometimes several decades old, multiple decades old. And when you have that, you are typically built on old systems, old team structures, old technology. And that's really clunky, and that's really expensive, and that's really difficult to steer a ship in a new direction when the foundation of the entire firm is built upon these older legacy systems, processes, technology, even team structures. So because of Root's newness, it's this good balance of, yes, we're established enough to know we're doing great and Root's growing, but there's also this newness of we're more nimble, we're more light, we're built upon these technology platforms that are far less expensive, that are far less clunky. And by the way, more expensive in some of these things does not mean better. In many cases, it's the opposite. But just that newness, the longer term time horizon, I think is the important thing here of we don't have investors. We are a team of people that hopes to be doing this for another 30 plus years. And so when we're looking at our strategic goals, it's not what do we need to do in the next 3 to 5 years to make this as profitable as possible. It's what can we do over the next 30 years to make this just something really cool for clients, for team members, for the industry as a whole. And then finally is efficiency. And this is a big one here. Some of this ties into what I just talked about. Why do I start with, okay, well, our profit and loss is attractive? Well, what does that have to do with clients? Does that just mean, okay, cool, Root's going to make money and clients are going to, how do they benefit? Well, what I mean by our profit and loss statement is attractive is when you look at Root's overhead. So whether that's rents, whether that's insurances, whether that's technology, whether that's all these different things, it is significantly lower than the industry as a whole, just because of the efficiencies we've been able to build in, partly because what I just talked about of the newness of some of the technologies we've been able to use, or not feeling like we have this massive tech debt because we're stuck on some system that was created 25, 30 years ago, and just to migrate hundreds or thousands or tens of thousands of households would be too overwhelming. So we have very low overhead. On top of that, now, I guess, what does that mean? Well, rents, for example. we do have physical locations in San Diego, in Los Angeles, but for the most part, we are a remote distributed company. We have people in all different time zones all across the country. And so our rent as a portion of our profit and loss is low. Now, for most companies, rent's not typically a huge line item on your P&L. Otherwise, you're probably doing something wrong, but it's something. Technologies, we are built on lighter, more nimble, better technologies, I would say, in many ways that are significantly more cost effective, which again allows us to have better margins. On top of that, the final thing is the cost to acquire a client. And I think this is the big one when it comes to profit and loss statements of so many firms. And by the way, they're successful in doing this. This isn't to knock against these firms. Many firms spend thousands of dollars and hours trying to attract new clients. When I say thousands of dollars, I'm not saying, okay, they got 100 clients this year and they spent thousands of dollars. I'm saying thousands of dollars for one single client. When you look at the economics of this business, so many firms will pay so much money for a single lead or for a revenue share, for whatever it is, to get a client. And that's money that the reality is at the end of the day, clients are paying for, because you have to charge a fee that once you cover your overhead, once you cover the cost of course, team members and staff, there has to be some profit margin to remain as a viable business, to be a sustainable business for the long term. So we are effectively, because our philosophy has always been, what can we do to educate, put all this information out there at zero cost on podcasts, on YouTubes, on blogs, on whatever it is. That's been our approach. Give everything away. And that resonates with a lot of people. What does that mean for us on our end? Well, it means we're spending, I don't want to say nothing on marketing, because we have editing, we have an editor for YouTube. We have technology costs to do this. We have some marketing teams. So there are certainly costs, but we're not paying for leads. We're not paying for a revenue share with many of these custodians. We're not doing these things, which I think advisors on this call will know what I'm talking about. For a lot of clients and prospective clients, it's might be saying, what are you talking about? Well, if you're at a Charles Schwab or a Fidelity or some of these institutions and they introduce you to an advisor in their network, they're typically getting, and this isn't a blanket statement, but somewhere maybe in the range of 20 to 25 basis points, 20 to 25% of the revenue that you are paying them. And those numbers work out differently in different arrangements, but just for example. So how can they potentially drive down costs if a big portion of the revenue they're receiving is just going to the Fidelity, the Charles Schwab, or the institution that referred? So nothing wrong with that. I'm not saying that's a challenge. It's just those firms aren't going to be able to drive down the cost of services over time, because there has to be a certain fee to maintain a certain margin to do what they're doing. So as we look at this so far is why I believe Root is uniquely positioned to make some of these changes. Now I want to talk a bit about what does this mean in terms of how we will go about, I say disrupt the industry here. The reality is I really don't care about the industry. I care passionately about the team that we have at Root and the clients that we get to serve at Root. So this really has nothing to do with, okay, what are we doing to the industry? The industry is doing its own thing. We're going to say, how can we improve the relationship we have with clients? How can we improve what services look like for more and more clients over time? And number one, it's expand client base. So one of the problems I mentioned at the beginning was accessibility. Good financial advice is not accessible enough. And I looped Root into that. We are not accessible enough. You can see this here in the last 18 months, over 4,500 people have reached out to us to say, hey, we want to work with you. We've had to turn most of those people away. And this is something that doesn't sit well with us. We want to be able to serve great people. And this is 4,500 great people that it pains us, it kills us to say, hey, we can't work together right now. The challenge is we're a team of 18 right now and we're growing, but more important than anything else is our ability to preserve the current level of service that we have to current clients. And we could go out and say, you know what, let's just hire a whole bunch of people and we could fix this problem immediately. But then our service starts to drop over time because it wasn't the right people. Or then over time, clients start saying, hey, this is what's going on? Like you grew too fast and now all of a sudden Root's not what it used to be. So we have had to be hyper selective in doing this because we do a very high standard and we won't compromise that. But going back to everything from, hey, the platform we have and the clients coming in, the culture that we have, the ability to grow a really great team of people, the efficiencies in both our systems and processes, and even things like our profit and loss and the margins that we can potentially have with that, it allows us to reinvest pretty aggressively into the business to hire new people, to hire new incredible people, I want to say, which helps us to serve more and more people. So we want to make financial advice more accessible. We have grown our team pretty quickly, and we're growing it in a responsible way where it's not just growing for the sake of growth. It's growing only when we find incredible people that are great complements to what we're doing, and then training and developing to make sure that that is going to be a good thing for both the team and clients going forward, of course. So growing our team to serve more people. On top of that, we're never going to be everything to everyone. And not everyone is always going to be able to hire Root. So part of our long-term roadmap is to say, yes, we do great work for the clients that we get to work with. Right now, we work with a few hundred people, and I think we do incredible work for the people we get to serve. There's 10,000 people retiring every single day. So as much as we've grown, Root is still a very small firm in the grand scheme of things. So I want to recognize that. Even though I say, hey, how can Root change this? How can Root disrupt some of these things? Well, I also acknowledge like Root's nothing in the grand scheme of the giant realm of how many people are looking for advice. And so we have to get creative and say, how can we, as a relatively small firm, make this giant dent or disproportionate dent in what this looks like? Part of it is increase the number of advisors we have to serve more clients directly. Part of it is conversations of, hey, how do we create online platforms or these one-to-many platforms? So somewhere maybe between the full service advice that we have right now and say the podcast or YouTube platforms that we have right now, where it's advice, you can watch it and implement on your own. Is there something in between where you can get not the full service, but more so than just listening to a YouTube channel or podcast? And these are things that aren't coming tomorrow. They're not coming next month, but they're very much things that we have in our minds of how do we help as many people as possible to ultimately help them get the most out of life with their money, going back to our mission. So scaling advice is an important thing to us. At the same time, how do you add and improve services? So for us, there's a few ways in which we do that. Improving services, this is a thing where I think our services are incredible. Like if I look at our team and the work that we're doing, there's always room for improvement, but I think we're very good. I do think though there's room for improvement. And so what are we doing internally? Well, we're building out Root University. Root University is saying that, look, whoever comes to Root, it's not just, oh, you're a great advisor. Please go work with this client and figure it out. It's, you're a great advisor. Let us train you and develop you on the way that Root does things and the very specific methodology that we have. And so we're developing curriculum. We're developing, how do we have not just curriculum where people can understand how to run each meeting and get the depth of education that they need, but also a coaching and a development and a mentorship type structure within Root to make sure that as you're coming in, you are being developed, which is good for the advisor and is good for the client to ensure that there's a consistency of advice of everything that we have. So there's both that improving our services, which I think we are very good, but can always get better. And then also adding services. So what does an all-in-one solution look like? And again, this isn't something that's going to happen tomorrow, but it's how do you become that place where clients can come and say, all my needs are taken care of. I don't have to go here for this advice and there for that advice and across the street for the other advice, but as much as possible, make this something that fully encompasses and addresses all needs. And then even beyond that, I think one of the things that struck us so much is you can have all your financials dialed and you can be incredibly well prepared for retirement, but there tends to be an emotional, psychological side of money that goes unaddressed by much of the industry. I'm not gonna say everyone, because a lot of people do good work with this, but there's this side of it's more than money. And there's a sense of how do you provide almost that coaching or education around the personal side of retirement or finance or living more fully or whatever that looks like to expand beyond just the numbers. So those are the things that are on our mind. And then finally, make advice more affordable. This is something that once we are able to reach more people, once we're able to improve the depth and breadth of our services, you get to this point where, because we're not bogged down by clunky overhead, expensive overhead, by paying incredible amounts of money just to try to get a client or keep a client. We can be fully focused on serving clients while maintaining pretty incredible profit margins. Today, those margins are entirely being put back into the business to bring on more people, to improve services. Ultimately, though, once we feel like, okay, we have expanded services to the point where we are very accessible to many people. What I mean by that is, to put it just in quantifiable terms, today Root has an investment minimum of $2 million. That's because we have to control the amount of people coming in to become new clients to Root. Otherwise, our service model would just collapse if we took on everyone. Our goal is not to keep raising that from 2 million to 3 million to 5 million to 10 million to become super exclusive. Our goal is to decrease that as much as possible. Go from 2 million to 1 million to 500,000 to ultimately having these other one-to-many solutions. And as we do this, and as we do this at scale, the profit from that at some point reaches a point where we say, okay, we don't need to focus so much more on expansion as much as how can we start driving down the cost of some of these services? How can we make financial advice more accessible? How can we make it better, all while simultaneously driving down the cost of that advice while still maintaining the margins necessary to be a long-term sustainable firm to deliver some of these solutions indefinitely into the future? So I leave this with today of, we really think of our clients today, of our clients aren't coming to us today to say, hey, we are part of this mission. No, our clients are coming because they say, hey, we've been diligent savers and investors, and we need a partner to help us make the most out of life with our money. That's why they're coming to us. I also want clients to know, clients who are on this webinar, clients we talk to, you are playing an incredible part in our ability to accomplish this mission, because you are the reason we exist, and our ability to do this great work for you allows us to reinvest, to expand, to do some of these things that we've talked about. So fairly high level, I'm going to end by saying, as I mentioned before, this isn't, hey, prior to this webinar, Root was doing this, and now after this webinar, Root's doing that. This is what we've been doing. This is what we've been working on. This is just putting this all together to share it in a way to invite clients into this journey, to invite prospective clients into this journey, to invite other advisors and industry professionals into this journey. And with that, wanted to leave time for questions. So Ari, I know questions have been coming in. Any questions you want to make sure we're starting with here?
Yes, lots of questions coming in, and awesome, James, right there, 25 minutes on the dot. So we want to go through some of these questions. Guys, we will do our best. We won't be able to get to all of them, but a lot of really powerful questions. Some questions coming in from current clients, some questions coming in from those that I've personally spoken to. When you reach out to Root right now, I'm the person that you talk to. And it's fun to get to see a lot of these names come through. So the real one that reaches out to me that goes, I just want to answer this for people, James. This comes from Warren. And Warren and I spoke recently, and Warren says, hey, how can you assure continuation of culture in the face of such explosive growth in demand? So that's the first question. I know more questions coming through, but I think that'd be helpful. Go.
Yeah, thank you, Warren. That is the question that I would say is top of mind always for me as well. And I would say that the driving philosophy, our growth philosophy, I'll call it, is we want to prioritize two things. And the way I'll explain it to the team, and we'll talk about it, is I want to make sure every team member always feels like, every client feels like they're one of a handful of clients that we work with. Whether we had 10 clients or 100 clients or 100,000 clients, I want them to feel like I'm one of maybe a couple dozen people Root works with, because of how responsive they are, because of how proactive they are, because of the depth to which my advisor knows me and my family and what's important to me. I cannot possibly comprehend how Root could work with more than a couple dozen people. So that's kind of one guardrail that I think of. The other, and I took this from, I believe it's from Yvon Chouinard's book, Let My People Go Surfing, the Patagonia founder, where he talked about wanting all of his team members to show up every day on the balls of their feet. If you think of an athlete in a game, they're just on the balls of their feet, ready to go, ready to move, the excitement and just the fun of it all. I want every team member at Root every day to wake up on the balls of their feet. I want this to be something that is fun, that's enjoyable, because that's good for us, it's good for clients. And so those are the two guardrails that we think of. Controlling for those two things, ensuring that clients feel the utmost care and dedication, and ensuring that Root team members are always just waking up on the balls of their feet. Then I want to grow as much as possible, not just for the sake of growth, but because this growth, as we're talking about, means transformation. This growth means more lives impacted. This growth means more career opportunities internally. This growth means more people getting the advice that they're looking for. But those are the two guardrails. If we ever start feeling like, okay, our service is starting to slip a little bit, we're going to scale back on the growth. If we ever get to the point where team members are saying, hey, you know what, I'm not seeing my family anymore, I'm not able to provide the work I want to provide because of how crazy, okay, we're going to scale back a little bit. So it is something that it is always top of mind. And in terms of some specific things that we're doing, Root's got a, I think, obviously I'm biased, an incredible culture, but one of the roles that we're looking at even bringing on towards the end of this year is a head of people type role, someone that sole job and purpose is to say, make Root fun and engaging, and make it known that if you're an advisor at Root, you're an elite advisor in terms of your skill set, your competency, your ability to be a great planner, but also your ability to connect with people, your empathy, your compassion. So there's a role that we're thinking. There's all kinds of internal things that we do currently and will continue to do that I don't want to take too long to address, but that is the question that's top of mind. And I think that's the answer, Warren, is by keeping that question top of mind, it will remain the priority as we continue growing.
Beautiful. I want to see, James, if you can answer two of these questions at the same time. And you alluded to it just now. This is really fun for me because one of these questions is coming from Roland. Roland, who both James and myself got to meet in person, and you've been a client for a long time. And Roland's question is, thanks, James, for all of this. In your opinion, what makes a great advisor? That's question one. And question two, which I think will be helpful to answer at the same time, comes from a new client. And this comes from Rich. And Rich, I spoke with you personally just a few weeks ago, and now you're working with one of our awesome clients, Katie. And your question is, hey, as Root continues to grow and expand, specifically adding advisors across the country, how can you ensure a uniform standard of advice and guidance? Specifically, the messaging and guidance offered by James and Ari via media is captivating, it's motivating. And as a new client, how does Root plan to effectively spread that culture to all advisors given the geographic separation?
I think I can answer both at the same time, and I'll let you fill in, Ari, if I miss anything. How can Root ensure great advisors? I mean, there's things like the Certified Financial Planner designation, which is like, if you're going to be an advisor at Root, you have a lead advisor, you have to have the Certified Financial Planner designation, which kind of checks the boxes of competency in certain areas or core areas of financial planning. Beyond that, as we talked about, we have Root University, and Root University is our way of saying we're going to build out our own curriculum. It says we want to not just be CFPs, but we want to be incredible advisors because we love our clients. We want that to continue. So there's a few things. There's just an absolute mastery of key topics of you, if you're doing with retirement planning, helping people to maximize the income their portfolio can create, understanding how portfolio structure and asset allocation ties in to what that looks like, just understanding all the different tax things that you need to be aware of, whether it's Roth conversions or tax gain harvesting or charitable giving, like all these things you have to be an absolute master at. And so that's what we're creating in Root University, is the ability to take the CFP curriculum and then have a depth to that of not just be a general CFP and be able to provide advice, but how does Root specifically apply that advice? You know, we have our Sequoia system, which is when you're becoming a client at Root, it's not just, all right, here's your advisor. Good luck. I hope they work out. It's, no, we're going to go through this very structured process, and people can see that on our website if they want to learn more about it, of how do we deliver financial advice, and that's just from our years of experience of saying, hey, what tends to work after working with hundreds of different people? There's a formula to this on the one hand, and Root University and other things we're doing really helps to create that depth of knowledge and expertise there. The other thing, what makes a great advisor? There's a certain part of it that's really important to us, at least internally, is we want it to be fun. when you reach out to your advisor. We don't want it to feel like, oh, I'm going to the dentist. I gotta check the box. Oh, I gotta go to my financial advisor for them to run a Monte Carlo analysis and tell me to stop spending so much. Like, that's not the experience we want. We want it to be something where you look forward to your meetings with your advisor, because your advisor just becomes like a friend, becomes like a family, someone you enjoy sharing your life with. And that personal connection is very important to us as well. So as we're even going through the interview process, a couple of the meetings are just, is this someone that you would want to spend time with? Like, is this someone that we would want to have at our team retreat to spend time with? Because if we wouldn't, our clients probably wouldn't either. And so that personality is also important. The ability to connect, to relate, to have compassion, all those different things. What am I missing here, Ari? So I'm going back to Rich's question now. I know it's a little bit deeper. But
No,
would you
that
add
was
anything
great.
to
That was great. That was, hey, what is the plan? And you mentioned it, Root University. We have a training system. There's two things I want to add on to there. The first is, I asked you, James, this was maybe a year and a half, 2 years ago. Hey, what is the plan for adding new advisors? And you're like, well, we could, hire locally or we could have the best advisors in the country. And you said it with so much confidence that I'm like, yeah, I know what we're doing, which is we want the best people wherever they are. And one of the coolest things, in my opinion, of what we have going on right now, some people reach out and they go, oh, it's the, tax planning specialty or the holistic planning. I go, oh, that's great. But here's an advisor that's oftentimes watching our videos. A lot of people on this call are advisors hoping to work for Root that are going, my firm, I'm at whatever, Fidelity, Schwab, Vanguard, they're not letting me go into the level of planning that I'd like to. And I really resonate with your approach. And here's someone hoping to get that level of guidance. So what you just shared there is, no matter who you're working with, you are getting the same experience. So I love that. I want to go to this next question, James, if that's okay. Come from another current client, comes from Howard. And Howard says very transparently, which I like, I'm worried that with the growth, the service is going to be diminished. I'm worried that the relationships I've made with Root will be changed due to this growth. How are you thinking about this? Do you treat all clients equal, even with various portfolio balances? How do you think about that? What's your criteria in selecting new clients? Is it based on portfolio amount? Would love to hear more.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'll go back to the same thing. Like, me too. If I said I wasn't worried about growth, I would be lying, and we would fold, because we'd grow too fast, and then that would cause negative impact. And so I think the pace at which we're growing is a very controlled pace. And for as fast as it is, it could be faster. It could be a lot faster. But we know that to go faster would lead to bad results for clients. It would lead to bad results for a team. And it would, I'll go back to time horizon. If our time horizon was, hey, we want to sell Root in 3 to 5 years to the highest bidder, we would go crazy with growth right now. It's okay, let's go raise some money. Let's go hire a bunch of advisors. Let's bring on all these clients. And who cares how good that service is? We're going to try to sell and be out in 3 to 5 years. There is zero intention of that. We have no investors. We have zero interest in having outside investors. My interest selfishly is I want to work at a place that I love working at for the next 30 years or more of my life. I think a lot of us have that same thing of, I want to create an environment that I'm proud of, an environment that does incredible work, that I can look clients in the eye and have conversations with them and I'll be proud that, hey, we're your advisors and we stand behind our work fully. And to sacrifice that is just not worth it. We're not going for short 3 to 5 year growth. We're saying, what can we do over the next 30 years to make this the most incredible place for clients that they could possibly imagine, and the most incredible place for advisors? And so is it a worry? It's a worry from the standpoint of, I'm very mindful of it. Just like with anything, if you're overconfident in anything, oh, that could never happen to me, I would never fall into that temptation. Well, you probably will, because your guard's not up. You're not mindful of it. But if we keep that as something that is always top of mind, then I think that's the only way to responsibly do it, is to stay worried about those things, to stay worried about the culture, to stay worried about growing too quickly. And I won't lie and say we've done it perfectly. Like, I will say at the beginning of this year, there was a few weeks or a month or two where we did probably grow too quickly. And we say, okay, let's pull this back a little bit. Let's really reinvest into training and development in Root University, and just limit how many new clients an advisor can start working with a month. And those are things we're continuing to work through. And because like, we have this mission that's our guiding North Star, that yes, we want to bring this with as many people as possible. I'm going to go back to our guardrails. First and foremost, this needs to be an absolutely incredible experience for clients and an absolutely incredible experience for our team as well. So I'd be lying if I didn't say I was worried, but I think that worry is what keeps us manically focused on making this as good as it can be.
Beautiful. James, I'm going to let you look at more of the questions that are coming in. I'm going to read a comment in the meantime, because this comment comes from Randy. And Randy, I know we spoke recently for more than an hour, and you're currently working with our new advisor, Paul. And you just mentioned here, hey, this is not a question, but I've been in a management position and worked for a company that has similar approaches to culture and university and the approach to hiring. And you said you hit on a lot of things. This call reinforces I made a great decision with aligning with a firm that has a vision, doing a lot of great work. I love the approach, not compromising your culture and the way you want to work with customers. The reason I want to highlight this comment is because a lot of the questions coming in right now are, hey, are you going to reach out to us when we want to work with you? And what is the process right now to make sure culture is never compromised? And a lot of it comes down to a really difficult thing, which is we have to say no a lot right now. And that's not something we love doing, but we have to do that. So Randy, thank you for that comment there. I know Paul enjoys working with you. James, any other questions coming in that you want to address?
Well, I think along those lines, we have a question: what's the minimum for clients? We have this net worth. We do have a $2 million minimum. And I said one of the reasons we're having this call is a lot of people reached out, and some of you bummed, and we're bummed too. Of hey, what the heck? I've been watching you guys, and I love your advice, and I reach out because I'm ready to work with you, and I get this message that you can't work with us right now. And that's really hard, not for business reasons, but just because we feel like we do develop this relationship with a lot of great people, and we want to be able to say yes to you, and we want to be able to work with you. So that minimum is definitely not something that we intend to have forever. And it's not even something we enjoy having. It's just that is the way in which we control how many new clients are coming on each month, because we have to prioritize current clients. We have to prioritize a smooth onboarding experience. And we could drop that today and try to onboard everyone that's reached out to us. But that's no good for current clients. That's no good for new clients. It's no good for the team. So it is this phase of growth where we're saying no way more than we're saying yes. And I guess I just want to tell anyone who's watching or listening of our goal is not to keep that minimum there. Our goal is to drive that down as much as possible over time to be able to have just a great financial planning solution for whoever's working or looking for it. Okay, I'm going to add on, Ari, and then go back to you. Karen adds an additional question or comment along the same lines. We appreciate your dedication to honoring the service level you've created for existing clients. How do you plan on reaching out to the 4,500 clients you've had to turn away? The honest answer is it probably won't be like a mass email to everyone of, hey, all of a sudden we have 4,500 spots available. That we won't have 4,500 spots available overnight. I will say we'll send out email communication as we're able to start dropping that minimum over time. But the main point that I want to get across here is what we're talking about here isn't a 30-day plan or a 60-day plan or even a 90-day plan of, hey, within 90 days, all of this stuff is going to be accomplished. This is a several year plan, and we're committed to doing it the right way, which unfortunately means some of the people that reached out will never be able to work with just because they need guidance now. And by the time, if some of this is 12 months away, 24 months away, 36 months away, well, they just need to find another solution in the meantime because they've got these immediate pressing concerns. But I do want people to know that the intention behind what we're doing is to serve more and be more accessible. It's just it does take time to grow in a responsible way to allow for those solutions in the future.
Awesome. One of the comments that comes in from Richard says, even though you have a $2 million minimum, please continue to make videos for those that are not at that level yet. That's not going to change. We're going to continue. That's a big part of our mission. We recognize we don't get to work with everyone. We want to help as many people as possible, but that is one of the things that we love seeing, whether it's YouTube comments or emails to us. That really is fulfilling for us. So James, any other, I know just about a minute left or so here, and we weren't able to get to, of course, every question, but a lot of questions coming in from current clients, people I've spoke with recently. James, any other questions that are just, yes, I want to answer that before we head off.
Well, I'm okay going a little long. I know I want to be respectful of other people's time, so I know a lot of people will probably have to drop off. There will be a recording of this. We'll post it to YouTube once it's ready to go. So if you've got to run, you can see some other stuff. Let's see here. No, Ari, is there one top of mind for you? I'm just scrolling through some of these here.
Yeah, there is, and it comes actually from a current client. And Faran, I really like this. You say, hey, this is not a question, but specifically, oh, sorry, there's a few that have come in, but there's one that I liked. This is coming from you, Faran, who said, hey, I'm a current client, really happy with the decision I've made. I like that you say, does Root need experienced advisors or are less experienced candidates considered? I know two young folks who might fit if you want people who are essentially a blank slate that you could train the Root way right out of the gate. Hiring is to us one of the most important things when it comes to culture. So James, any talking points on hiring in general? And if you're an advisor in the industry, who are we looking for and how can people get involved in what we're doing?
Yeah, we're looking for everyone. And I think that we've had this conversation of we're not trying to fill X number of roles. It's not, okay, hey, we need X number of advisors, X number of support advisors, X number of we need 10 out of 10 candidates. And if there's none of them, hey, we're not going to hire right now. If there's 5 of them, hey, we're going to try to extend to make that work for these people today. So more than anything, it's looking at the long-term game and saying, who are the people that we want to be a part of this long-term? There's a lot of incredible advisors out there. And a lot of them, I think, are in situations where they're limited in terms of their career growth, in terms of their ability to do certain things, in terms of the ability to maintain a fiduciary standard at all times. Like they're just looking for other places. And so we want to become that home to these great people that say, look, I'm an awesome advisor. I don't want to have to go do business development. I don't want to have to go do sales. I just want to be the best advisor in the world to my group of clients. In terms of experience needed, it depends on the role. If we're hiring for a lead advisor today, we need the general philosophy of growth here at Root is hiring someone in a very entry-level position and being able to train them on our systems, our philosophy. They sit in on every single client meeting with their dedicated lead advisor. They're taking notes, they're establishing action items, they're doing some of the financial planning data input. It's a very organic way to start learning everything via osmosis so that over the next 2, 3, 4, 5 years, they learn everything, not just how about finance, but how does Root apply these things so they can grow into that lead advisor and have it be a very natural thing. We have some growth capacity constraints. So if for us to bring on more lead advisors today, we can't say, okay, let's just hire incredible people who don't have experience, but can be there in 2, 3, 4, 5 years. That means we're having to say no to all these clients for several years. So we're also, if you think of like baseball, like there's the farm system of you draft someone that's really great and you mentor and nurture and coach them and they become your all-star. We also have to bring in some free agents. We have to go out and say, okay, hey, you have similar experience. You're an awesome person. You share this vision for how financial advice should be done and how clients should be treated. Your experience and the vision you share would make you a great lead advisor at Root today. So let's come in and kind of hire you into that lead advisor role and like really expedite some of this training to make sure you're okay. But the short answer is it's a mix of both experienced people that need to be client facing pretty quickly, as well as inexperienced people that I don't care about their experience at all as much as their character and their work ethic and all those other things that are far more important to that stage.
Awesome. Awesome. And yeah, just like James mentioned there, we are happy to go long. We put this for 45 minutes, but we are happy to go through more of these questions. And this once again will be recorded and reposted. A few more questions, James, that are coming in at the top of the list here. This comes from a current client, Eric. What are you doing today to ensure that your remote advisors are giving consistent advice reflecting Root's philosophy?
Yeah, a handful of things. And I'll say with all this stuff, we're not perfect today. Like I think one of the things that makes Root is we have a team of people that is committed to continuous improvement of, hey, we're doing this and here's suggestions for how we can improve. And we act rapidly on that. But it's in for perspective, 10 months ago, we were at 6 team members. I believe this 10 months ago, 6. Today we're at 18. So like that's an entirely different team structure than it was even less than a year ago. And so what are we doing? Well, we're implementing things like net promoter score surveys. Hey, to clients, how are things going? Getting that feedback and then acting upon that feedback. With our Sequoia system, when new clients come on board, there's the kickoff meeting, then the income meeting, then the investment tax. We tell clients up front, new clients, hey, after every single one of those meetings, you're going to get a little feedback survey of how did that meeting go and what could have been done to improve it. Now, across the board, it's pretty much 5 out of 5s with a couple 4s here and there, but it's we're once you grow to a certain point, it's no longer, you can't be involved personally in every single thing. So you need great data feedback from both clients and team members on what could be improved. Clients, we hear from them. Team members, we're hiring really smart, great people with great ideas. And so they're sharing ideas as well of what can improve. So how do we ensure that? It's collecting that feedback. It's also making it very clear to clients, like, this whole team here is here to serve you. If you have a suggestion, if you have an idea, if you have a concern, email me, email Ari, email we want more than anything to make this the best financial planning firm in the country is really the mindset that we're taking towards it. And so we love that feedback that we get anytime there's something that we could be doing better. That's great. We know there's a lot of things that we're doing right. It's just things that aren't perfect yet that we're looking to improve upon.
Awesome. There are 4 or 5 comments and questions that I highlighted for you, James. So take a look at those. I want to address one comment that was just left from Mary. And Mary goes, I have a scheduled appointment with Ari in September. We have the 2 million requirement. What are the reasons that you or James would not be taking me on as a client? Thank you guys for what you do. And the reason I want to address that is I want you with an advisor whose sole focus is to make sure that they can offer proactive planning. When James or I are making videos or podcasts or hiring we do all of that so that we can grow and help as many people as we can. But we're adding team members so people like you, Mary, are able to get that guidance when James and I are making videos or podcast, whatever we're doing, no, there's someone who I can reach out to and I'm going to get a response. And it doesn't mean by the end of the day, you have the full analysis, but you're getting a response that's, yes, Mary, I've received your email. Here's when I'm going to come back to you with a response, with feedback, etc. So Mary, really like your question there. We like the transparency. That's the reason for that. James, any comments or questions that are reaching out to you?
Yeah, this is a good one. There's a question that says, I'm unclear with what James is saying about increase in scale. Will I no longer have an assigned advisor? If so, will this new one-to-many general advice distract my assigned advisor? Absolutely not. So I want to make sure I'm clear. This is like an entirely different structure that's probably still a ways down the road. It's not saying any one-to-one clients you no longer have. The model we have right now will always be our core, called white glove premium service model that is why we exist. It's saying there are so many great people that don't have the means of hiring us right now, don't have the need to hire us right now, that we still want to be able to help. So it would be an entirely different structure, again, into the future. Like, this is not something that's going to be released soon. It's just us always thinking about how do we help more people, but more than helping more people, it's how do we ensure that we're remaining fully committed to our current clients first and foremost. So the answer is no. Nothing about the current structure will change for clients other than, like, as I mentioned, hoping to increase the breadth and depth of what we're able to do. But this would be something totally different.
Great. Any other questions that you specifically are seeing coming through, James, that you want to address?
I am scrolling through here. So we get questions a lot of, hey, how come you don't, none of these questions are asking this directly, but why don't you offer hourly services? How come I can't come to you and just work with you on a project basis? We don't have the capacity for that. One of the third phase of the growth we talked about is how to drive the cost of advice down. The reality is we could drive the cost of advice down like now, but then we can't keep improving our services like we want to. Then we can't keep expanding the accessibility of our services. We wouldn't have the ability from just a basic business profitability standpoint. It would be, okay, we're really locking ourselves into where we are now. There's a lot of great advisors that do work like that. They're hourly only or they're project only. Those advisors typically aren't ever, unless they're incredibly sharp business people, they're probably not ever going to be able to scale beyond themselves. They're going to say, hey, I have my, I don't know, 100, 150 people I can work with on a yearly basis, and then that's capped. So like, could we do that? We could do that today, but it means anyone that's not already a client probably would never become a client, because we would really shut down our ability to continue growing and scaling and improving some of these other things. And so that's why the order in which we're doing those things is important. Of first, expand accessibility. That's kind of goal 1A. Goal 1B is simultaneously improving services. Then step 3, technically 2 here, I guess, is then start to drive that down over the next several years. So that's just not our service model. I'm not going to say it's a bad model. There's pros and cons to each. I'm not going to say our model is the perfect model when it comes to how we, the fee structure that we have. There's not a perfect model, but it is what we have, and it works, and it's allowing us to do what we're doing. And the goal of this course to drive that down over time. But that's a long-term game.
Matthew, you just left a comment that I want to highlight, saying this was absolutely incredible. Root truly is building something special, putting the client first, being intentional with culture, standardizing the planning, and how you're planning to scale to bring down cost to clients. Bravo. This is what the industry needs. Keep up the great work. It's comments like those that I know even personally help me when we have to say no consistently. So thank you for those comments. A lot of those are coming in, not just you, Matthew, but a lot of people are reaching out going, no, this feels different. This is what I'm looking for. I just didn't know it existed yet. So thank you for those comments. James, I know a lot of questions coming in, but any others that you want to highlight here?
So I think that this is from Nani. Would Root eventually offer tax services to eliminate the disconnect between the strategies implemented? That is something that I think about a lot. And I've had a lot of conversations with other advisors, because and it would be great to be able to create Root tax or have something so that, look, this is truly a full service offering. And that is also something that I won't say it's our top priority, but it's up there. Like, yeah, that would be an awesome thing to implement. I've heard horror stories from advisors who have implemented it, and it said, hey, everything kind of suffered from that. I've heard other advisors say, no, it's been awesome. And so we're very careful in looking at it. We've even kind of like beta tested some things with certain individuals, of referring people to them to see, could these be the people that we maybe build a tax service around? So yes, it's on the roadmap. I will go back to the priority of things. First is improve accessibility, expand accessibility. That is our priority today. I would say after that is, add services like that. There's certain estate planning tools that we've added on as a service to clients in the last year. There's been other tools we've added like that. And so taxes is a big one that I would, in the future, I absolutely envision having that as part of what we're doing. I don't want to put a time frame on it, because I know even if you estimate a time frame, that's kind of what's expected. So Nani, the answer is yes. I just don't know exactly when.
Great. One of the questions, and we get this a lot as well, is, hey, you guys have these academies. Are those good options for us if we're not able to meet your minimums today, to learn more about your service? And some of the questions go, hey, does that come with one-on-one? And so James, I want to talk to that at all.
Yeah, it does not come with one-on-one services. It was, to be totally honest, almost like a beta test of, does this work? Do people even have any interest in this? And I think we both feel like, yes, it absolutely works. So it's like, yeah, let's give some good value, but more than anything, we want to gauge interest. And there's definitely enough interest there to where if you go through those, you're going to get definitely more than just like what's on YouTube or just on podcasts. It's going to lay out in a structured way, not just taking our repurposed YouTube videos, but different videos and walking through a planning process. It's not the full kind of one-to-many solution, hybrid solution that we talked about. That's a more long-term thing, but it's definitely something above just YouTube or just listening to podcast.
Awesome. And then for those that want help right now, and I know we get asked this question a lot, and even Karen says here, hey, I hate to ask this here, but here it goes. If Root can't help us now, what do we do? Like, what do we do in the meantime? And we could easily say, yeah, just keep watching videos. But I know a lot of you, I speak to personally, and you're like, I don't have the assets yet, but I want help. Is there a referral partner? Do they do the same thing? Like, what do I even do?
Yeah, that's one of the things that kind of keeps us up, is like it kills us to not be able to. But for all the reasons mentioned before, like that's what we have to do to keep doing what we're doing. Well, I had a conversation last week with a firm. It's like, hey, we are looking to build out referral partners that are good at what they do, that have a similar alignment and approach to what they do. So, hey, if it's not us, at least let us point in the right direction. So that's something that we're hoping to really formalize probably in the next few weeks here. The short answer is yes, we want to have someone to send you to if it's not us in the meantime.
Great. And I know just a minute left here until top of the hour. James, anything else you want to leave everyone with?
Last thing, well, that's probably a longer question. Ratio of how many clients can one advisor work with? This is something that we don't have the perfect answer for. Like, we have a number. And so I want to give some backstory to this. If most advisors, as I mentioned, they're doing tons of business development and sales, and they're out networking and driving, and we take all of that away from the advisors. They can just be awesome advisors. A lot of advisors are doing their own planning. They're doing their own note taking. They're doing their, well, we bring on an associate advisor with every advisor to support that. And so we try to really see, how do we elevate the advisor to this position where they're just advising. And so when you do that, the capacity to serve clients at a really, really deep level goes far beyond the capacity if you had to do everything. And so with that in mind, none of our advisors are close to this, but somewhere in the 100, like mid 100, 150-ish plus minus, it's really something that as advisors get close to that, none of our advisors are really there now. We're going to be actively monitoring that to see, do we need to decrease this or increase it or whatever it might be, to ensure service is always the highest priority.
Awesome.
So, all right, I think that we're at time. Any other final questions that we should go over before wrapping up?
Yeah, there's only one, which is, hey, if I'm a current client, can I reach out? If I have questions, can I reach out? I imagine the easiest way, and correct me if I'm wrong here, James, but emailing us at hello@rootfinancialpartners.com, we're able to see those. So if you have questions or concerns, or hey, more about the vision, once again, we're going to be posting this on YouTube so you can look back on exactly what we went through today. But any personal questions from clients or people that go, look, I've got a call scheduled with you in 3-4 months. What's the reason for that? Feel free to reach out. We see those and are happy to address them.
Yes. Awesome. All right. Well, Ari, thank you for moderating a lot of that. Thank you to everyone who tuned in. I know we went an hour plus. Really appreciate all of you being here. As Ari said, if there's questions, send them our way. We'll post this, but we're excited about where Root's going, not because of what's in it for us, but just because of the cool impact that it will have on clients, future team members, current team. So lots of really cool things happening. Really appreciate everyone being here. And that's a wrap. So thank you all.
Of course. Thanks all you guys.